1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous edition of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities Hometown Haunts. This episode is all about ghosts of pets. I am your host, Kat Cloco. Along with me every week is Christina Wald, our producer, and Jen, our researcher. And we have two special guests joining us today. That would be Monica, who's a returning guest from episode 6. Welcome back, Monica.
Hi, how are you?
And we have Cindy. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, how are y'all this evening?
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
Just before we start the show, I do want to remind our listeners that you can find us at Cin Cabinet Curio on Twitter, Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram. You can email us your own ghost stories, urban legends, or creepy stories at cincycuriosities@gmail.com. And you can find us on iTunes and here on YouTube, where you can catch every fantastic show. So, we're talking about our pets this week. Yes. And Christina, you now have 2 little kittens.
Yes. You might see them running behind or on my desk at some point today. They're getting used to it. They've been here a week.
Yeah.
So yeah. They now have the full run of the house. They were kind of quarantined off for the first 4 or 5 days while Miffy got adjusted to being around them. And they had a little cold when they came, so we didn't want them to be immediately exposed to Miffy. And so now everybody's integrated.
Is everyone doing well?
Yes, there's been no incidents. Like Miffy has not raised her paw once. She grumbles at them. So when they get too close, she gives them the warning grumbles. Our little bobtail named Bob keeps trying to befriend her and touch noses with her. And she's just sort of not having it quite yet. But she's not attacking him either.
That's a good thing. I think she'll get there.
Yeah, she'll get there. She's actually our only cat that's been around all the cats we've ever owned together, because when we got her, our 20-year-old cat was 20 and you know, our first batch of cats that my husband and I had, and now she's sort of been through all of them.
Wow.
Yeah, so but anyway, we're glad to have you on, Cindy.
You. It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
and
do you
Monica.
want to tell us a little bit? Yeah, and Monica, do you guys each want to kind of tell us about what you guys do?
Yeah.
Sure. We're
You want to go
mediums.
first?
Okay, I'm a medium. I mean, Cindy is too, but she's also an animal communicator. I'm not as astute an animal communicator, but I do know when they're around. And often when I give readings, there's an animal associated with people, I find. It can be anything from an animal from the past, or it can be a wild animal, or it's their totem. It's their spirit animal that gives them strength and is always with them. Something that's been assigned to them, I find. And that's my experience when I read. But I think Cindy has the more definite communication with her animal guides. I think they actually speak to you, don't they?
Yeah, sure do. And animals in body and animals in spirit. So it gets quite busy sometimes.
Yeah.
I actually had the opposite experience that you did, Monica, is, you know, because I've been doing animal communication for 20 years. And I started having people showing up with the animals. And I'm like, you know, so I'm talking to a client and I'm going, okay, well, who's this guy? There are 2 guys standing here and describing it, you know, and it's my uncle and my dad. Okay, well, I don't know why they're here, but they're standing next to your dog on the other side. So that's how I actually got into mediumship. So it's like, for me, it's you know, I want to understand how to do things in the best way I can do them. All right, so you know, talking to animals to me, and probably Monica, I'd say probably for you as well, has been something I've done all my life on one sense or another, I would think. And so, you know, adding the people into it, I really didn't want to talk to people, but they kept showing up. So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to learn how to do this. But anyway, Mike, I
can get crowded.
Huh?
It can get crowded doing a reading.
Yeah, it can, can't it? It's kind of fun.
It's like a full room comes alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, how do you filter? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jen.
No, I was just going to make a smart ass comment.
Go right in.
Like, I don't want to talk to living people. I can't imagine having to talk to the dead ones too.
Yeah. I was thinking the same comment, Jen. Don't worry.
Well,
I didn't want to talk to the people. I wanted to talk to the animals. That the people came along insistently afterwards.
That's every party I've ever been to.
Is this something that you can control? Like, is it invasive? How invasive is this ability?
I can talk to that. I think it's like opening a door, closing a door. And Monica, you might want to jump in as well. But for me, I have a ritual I do before I do animal communication or before I do mediumship. And it's a deliberate tuning in with the divine, all it is. It is a deliberate tune asking for help, as well as my master teacher. And any and all animal spirits and guides that wish to assist. So that sets the stage. Now, that doesn't mean to say that I can't be. In fact, it did happen. One thing that happened to me several years ago is I was out talking with some folks and their horse, and I was out in a pasture area. And I was walking back to the barn and I looked up, and a horse that I had that passed away 10 years earlier was standing on a hillside. And I'm like, I just stopped and said, I asked the people, I said, who is that? Which horse is that? And they said, we don't see a horse.
Wow.
So, and it was Zan. It was a horse I had, like I said, 10 years ago. So for me, I'm a science major, all right? I worked in corporate for a very long time. So I'm the kind of person that is like, I'm giving me the evidence. I'm a science major, right? Give me the evidence. And I got into this because I had a very sick dog. And we were at a psychic festival. I'd never been to one before, so I was there. And I ran into this lady that said she could talk to animals. And this dog had been to the vet. This dog had, and we just could not figure out what was wrong. And I said, would you talk to my dog? Because no one else can help me. And I know something's wrong. I know. Okay. She came out to the house and talked to him. And she said, when he starts running into walls, I want you to call me. And sure enough, he started losing his eyesight. He started running into walls and having trouble going down steps and this and that. And I called her, and all she said, now keep in mind, she's on the phone and I'm on the phone. The dog can't hear her. Mm-hmm. And she said, Gaylord, you remember that you said when you couldn't see anymore, it was time to go. The dog laid down. No interaction with me, could not hear Kate in terms of physically hearing with his ears. He laid down. And that to me was like, okay, there's something to this. And then she became not only my teacher, but Terri's teacher as well. And we went through training with her. But that to me, that's the kind of person I am. You have to show me. And it's like, there's no way he could have heard her physically. Does that make sense? So I figured there had to be something to this stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I
was wondering how you trained. Sorry, Monica, what were you saying?
Go ahead. Go ahead with your thought.
No, just wondering how you train to specifically be able to focus in on pets rather than the extremely nosy people that just wander into the situation when you're trying to read an area. They're just like, hey, what you doing? Oh, you can see me? And you're like, no, I'm trying to talk to this basset hound here, not you.
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the same would apply whether we're doing psychic mediumship work or we're doing animal communication. It's intention. Okay, I'm a visual person, so so Terri and I actually, any animal communicator you talk to is going to work a little bit differently. I'm visual, right? So I want to see a picture, and I use a picture to connect with the animal to form a temporary connection. Okay, and I think that it's that connection along with the fact that I just love animals and I always have. that allows me to hear them and see them and feel emotions and get the information in whatever way that animal wants to communicate. Does that answer the question, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Monica, I'm sorry I interrupted you earlier.
Oh, the thought was that I was going to share that, and I think I've already done that in the first segment, but of your show, Once Upon a Time, that I had Terri talk to one of my Shih Tzus after our older Shih Tzu boy had died, and she was distraught and could not find him. Didn't know. And she had seen him die. She had smelled the body and it passed, so she knew he was dead. But she was really depressed, as I would expect. We all are depressed after someone we love dies. So I talked to Terri to ask her to talk to Sally.
Yeah.
And what she told Terri was that she missed the company and she missed him. And Terri said, well, I think that you're probably going to have a friend in maybe 2 weeks. Can you wait that long? And she said, well, I suppose so, because Sally was a stubborn little dog, but she had a heart of gold. And one day, about 2 weeks later, Cindy came home and I wasn't home. Cindy came home with groceries and opened the garage door, left the car out on the driving pad, opened the doors, brought in groceries, and Sally bolted from the house, all excited, and went around the car, sniffing, looking up into each door, trying to get into the hatch, barking. And Cindy said, I took that as a moment saying, it's time. It's time to get a new dog. So it happened that a friend of mine contacted me no more than 24 hours after that and told me about this. She was with SAP and told me about this adoption that they rescued 44 dogs. And some of them were poodles, some of them were mixes of Bichon, and there were a couple of Bichon. So I went looking for a small dog, and I came home with a Bichon, but we brought Sally with us. The minute I knew that Sally was growling slowly at him, I thought, it's love at first sight. She was okay with him, and he guided her into her darkness. So he was the guide dog that would wake her up in the morning. He'd tell us when she was awake. He'd direct us into the bedroom, and she would get up. We'd put her on the ground. He'd sniff her, and he'd lead her out. She'd follow this white tail out, and that's what his job was for the last year of her life.
Aww.
And when she died, he was just depressed. He wouldn't eat. He even took on the same sickness as she had,
Aww.
which was the liver started going and all the functions were dropping. I took a blood test to confirm it. And I said to the vet, this is crazy. She's doing the same thing as Sally. He's doing the same thing. And he said, well, he says, got to do something here. He says, we're going to put him on some medicine and I'm going to give him some hydration. It pulled him around, and we talked to him and told him about Sally and showed him pictures of her, kept pictures of her around, kept her ashes out so he could smell them. And he pulled out of it a little bit. He was a little more playful, but really still slow. And then this year, we got a call from someone who said, we hear you're looking for, well, it was this year that we lost her, and last year that we lost her. And it was like 2 months later that they called and said, I've got these 2 dogs. They're bonded male toy poodles. They need a good home. They've been through agility. Can you help them? And we both looked at each other, and I'm sitting at home with a cast in my leg. So I said, well, if we adopt them, you're going to have to walk them. She said, well, let's go ahead and try it. So we brought them home, and it was okay. It was love at first sight, and they get along fine. They can't wait to get Chad up in the morning, as 2-year-olds are. I call them Ziggy and Scooter, but their other names are Crash and Eddie from Ice Age.
I think you bring up a couple of really good things, Monica. That one is that animals pick us as much as we pick them. So I think when people are looking to adopt or are thinking about bringing an animal into their life, and they have existing animals, I think that's really important to consider and to actually, if you will, I mean, just because you don't say you're an animal communicator, when we talk, we make pictures in our head. We're human beings are a visual species, all right? Animals pick up on those pictures, okay? So, if you're going to do something like move, or if you're thinking about bringing a new animal into the house, or like Monica and Cindy did, they allowed the other dog to see him pass, okay? So we do that, all right, as much as we possibly can. With our dogs and cats, it's easy. With the horses, it's not quite as easy, but we had to put a horse down, and we made sure that that horse's companion horse saw him pass away and saw him, where his body ended up. So that's important. And so you guys, Monica, you all did that exactly right. But it's important to pay attention to your feelings of connection when you are considering bringing a pet in. And it's also very important that if there are other animals in the home, that you allow them an input to it. Because, as Monica pointed out, they're all going to be part of the family, right? I mean, we have 3 dogs and 3 cats. All right. And, we came from a country home where actually 2 of those 3 cats, actually all 3 of the cats, one was an indoor-outdoor, and 2 were barn cats. And we taught them, the indoor-outdoor cat got along fine with the dogs. We taught our barn cats to stay away from our dogs, okay? Because we didn't want the cats getting into them. We had a greyhound at one time.
Oh, nice.
And we now have a Portuguese Podengo, which is a sighthound as well. And then we've got 2 Bassets. Now, can a cat outrun 2 Basset hounds? Absolutely. A greyhound or a Podengo? No. Okay, they're not going to get to a tree in time. So we taught our cats to actually stay away from the dogs. And then we moved to the burbs. And suddenly we have 3 cats and 3 dogs in the house.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And no dog door.
Oh, wow.
No dog door for the cats to. So, it's been a process. But, we work with them and we tell them, okay, we don't let the Podengo chase the cat that's in the basement, which is one of the barn cats, and she's not as socialized as the other 2. She's getting better. She's finally getting the hang of living in a house, which was hard for her. But anyway, we just, tell her, you be careful of the little one. And we tell him, you're not allowed to chase cats. I said, no, I know you're a sighthound, but no, you're not allowed to do that. And it works. Okay. And you don't have to be an animal communicator. I'm showing him a picture in my head and saying, this is what I want you to do. Okay. I want you to, if the cat will allow you to play sniff butt, which is how dogs say hi to each other. I know it sounds terrible, but they do. Then you can do that politely. Okay. Politely. Do not mow them down. And, cats say hello differently to each other than dogs do, right? So you just have to show them pictures in your head, kind of, or visualize what you expect them to do. Okay. The same is true with horses. All right. If you think about it, dogs are prey animals. We're prey animals. Okay. Cats are both, which makes them really fascinating because you got to figure out which mode you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a cat being in prey mode, or are you dealing with a cat that's being in predator mode? Okay. And they can switch like that. It's really fast. I was not raised with cats, neither was Terri. So we have had some amazing cats teach us about cats and how they think and how to try to read, how to read their body language to tell kind of where they are at any given moment in time. So they're probably the most challenging for us to talk to because they do switch back and forth quite a bit. And we've had some fantastic cats over the years. Clients have had some really great cats teach us about cats, and then we ended up with our own cats. And we're learning cat, and our cats are being very patient with us and going, now it's a little confusing because we actually had a cat that would wag his tail like a dog.
Yeah, that is unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But if it was around dogs.
Yeah, but he was around dogs, and he caught on to the dogs doing that behavior, and that the dogs got attention when they wagged their tail. So I guess he figured out he could do the same thing. Horses are prey animals. Okay, so, and I've been around horses since I was 9 off and on. Okay, and I've been privileged to be a human with 4. I'm on my 4th, and she's
Wow.
Monica's met her. Cheyenne, and then Terri has a 5-gated saddlebred named Rohan, and he is 31 years old. So we don't. He's retired. He just has to strut around and look pretty, which he does. But horses, you have to consider if you pressure a dog, what is the dog going to do? The dog's going to try to back away, or they'll go into aggressive mode and say, snarl at you, growl at you, and say, back off. This is not okay. You're too close, whatever. Cats will, get the cat back and hiss and growl and whack at you, right? Horses their first defense is to run. Okay, if they cannot run, if they are in a stall, then they're going to turn and kick, or they're going to bite. So you have to be aware that each of these kinds of animals you have to know a little bit about them, I guess, is what I'm saying. If you're going to have a horse or have a dog or have a cat, you need to understand how to read them. Again, just read basic body language and understand what motivates them. And if they get frightened, what are they going to do? Okay.
Horses are fascinating. Yeah. It's interesting talking about the different. I illustrated Black Beauty for Grosset and Dunlop a couple of years ago, and I'd been around horses, but not a lot. And a friend of mine who had a horse, actually the horse died in its 30s. It was really old. It was a really sweet horse, but she taught me so much about horses that I didn't know. I didn't know that they were kind of like cats, like it would rub its head on her when she would come and see it, because it had been her friend since, it was young. And it would, and I didn't realize that they're pack animals. They hate being left individually, which I didn't realize that it affected them so much if you left one alone, like in a field or whatever.
Right. And that's another distinction between dogs and cats as well. Right, because dogs tend to be social, they're pack animals, and they just integrate us into their packs, right? Hello, which one's that?
I have my pack with me. My pack wanted to come up. They're all, they stopped.
I have not met this one yet.
Now they're sitting under my feet.
I haven't met this dog yet, have I?
This is Scooter. This is
These are minis of what Cat has. Cat has giant ones, and these are little.
Mine are all giant.
Oh, do you have standard poodles?
These are 10.
Oh, they're gorgeous. I was raised with poodles, so yeah, they're
Yeah, I have 3 very rambunctious Portuguese water dogs.
Oh my gosh, you do? Oh.
And a rabbit.
So you obviously do not have the water dogs around the rabbit.
The rabbit is the oldest. So, and we've adopted all 3 of our dogs. Sammy is the king, or really he's Prince Sammy. And he has, every single dog when they're a puppy has come up to Sammy to investigate him, and he's bopped them on the nose. So, and Sammy is not a big rabbit. He is a Netherland dwarf mix. So he's only 5-6 pounds, but he's the king. So, and now he's completely blind, and all 3 of the dogs groom him.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, you obviously introduced them the right way. That's great. That's great. I mean, that's part of it is, what your expectations are, I think, as a human. And that is, the animals need to understand what your expectation is. Okay, I expect my horse, when I walk up to her stall, to turn around and face me. Now, how do I taught her that she's a basset horse. She loves treats. Okay. We have 2 basset hounds too. So I can say that. And so I trained her because when I first got her, she would turn her butt to you. She didn't like people. She really did not like people at all. They hadn't been very kind to her. She was a brood mare. Okay. So, I trained her that, hey, because you like treats, would you like to turn around and face me? And if you do that, you'll get a treat. So now she knows. I mean, if she sees my truck, she comes to the front door. She's waiting. Okay. So, that to me is understanding what does the animal need. How another horse that might not have motivated. All right. Horses have, and dogs and cats have personality types. And they can be introverts or extroverts. They can be more left brain or right brain. And so with a particular type of natural horsemanship we do with our horses, they actually have a system. It's called horsenality. So you fill out a questionnaire about your horse, and then they will kind of put your horse on the quadrant for you based on how you answer the question. And they do the same thing with you. They have a separate thing for the human to fill out, and then you see how you can work together. Okay, so my horse, for example, is a left brain introvert. She in her natural state, if she's not in prey mode where she thinks she's going to get eaten, she's thinking, but she's introverted, which means I don't have to worry about her running off with me. Okay, she's an introvert, but she's a thinker, right? Terry's horse, on the other hand, is a right-brained extrovert, which means when in doubt, he's going to move. And he is right-brained. He's reactive. Right-brained means reactive. So you can kind of apply that to your dogs or your cats as well. Okay, the cat you have to figure out if they're being predator or prey, and then you can kind of go from there. So we have 3 cats, and I can tell you that the male cat is he is more of an extrovert. Okay, he is going to come out and he's going to say hi to whoever walks in the house. He is going to crawl on their lap. He is going to, kind of do this with them. He chases the 13-year-old. Okay. And he tries to intimidate his sister, his biological sister. Whereas the little cat, she's more of an introvert and a cuddler. And the one downstairs is very shy because she was in a barn until she got here. So, you can kind of apply the same thing with dogs and with cats. We have 2 basset hounds. All right. So Bo is 12 and a half, and he's big guy, the big basset guy. He's very laid back. He's very calm. He's very sweet. He will drape himself across your lap. You sit down on the couch, all 60 pounds of him. So he's very laid back. We have another basset who's older. We think he's a little bit of beagle in there, but mostly basset. And he's outgoing and wants to play, and he loves people. And they both love people, but Lucas will play with me. So he's more extroverted. Bo is more introverted. Same breed of dog. Okay. One came from a rescue. Lucas came from a rescue. Bo came from a couple whose the husband passed away and the wife was moving in with the daughter, so he needed a new home. And so we got him 4 years ago. Lucas, we've had out of a rescue for a year and a half. He was a backyard breeder.
Wow.
Stud dog.
So what are some of the more complicated cases and that you've dealt with? Because you also deal with healing animals as well as communicating with them. What do you find yourself doing more? Do you find yourself dealing with healing situations? Because it seems like there's a lot of complex things these days, like you said, trying to figure out what's wrong with an animal. And then how long does it just depend on, can you communicate with any animal that goes, or is it just certain ones?
Okay, you asked a couple questions there. So
I know that was like a big giant load of questions.
No, it's fine. I want you to keep track and make sure I got both of them now. Okay. So I'll answer the second one first, I believe. Actually, no, we'll go with the healing part first. Okay. I do more animal communication than I do healing work.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's but they're integrated. They're integrated together. If somebody calls me and they want to talk with their dog, Okay. The first question I always ask is how are you feeling in your body? Oh, look at you. Aren't you pretty? Yeah. Cat, I'm looking at your, oh, that's a beautiful dog. How are you feeling in your body? Now, I'm not a veterinarian. Okay. And I make that clear with every client I talk to. I am not a vet. I'm not going to trespass into their territory. I'm not qualified. But I can ask the animal, how are you feeling? It's kind of like when you go to the doctor. That's one of the things that the nurse practitioner or whoever comes in and says, okay, tell me how you're feeling. They're getting your perspective. They're not, and then they listen and do all the stuff that nurses do or doctors do, right? But they want your perspective. How are you feeling? I'm asking the animal the same question. How are you feeling in your body? We'll get to the emotional stuff and the other stuff next. But I want to know, because the physical body, if I get called for a dog that is all of a sudden acting irritable and snapping at people, okay, the first thing I want to know is that animal having a physical discomfort of some sort or another? Because if so, they need to get the animal to the vet first. Let's deal with the physical first, okay? That's concrete. And animals, depending upon what type of animal you're talking about, like for example, cats will hide. They will hide their discomfort or physical issues until they absolutely can't, okay? Dogs are a little more, again, depending on the breed or combination of breeds, you can get drama queens there too. It's like, my paw hurts. Well, they might have stepped the wrong way. Or, the Padango's like that. The Basset Hounds are more like they have to be really, really hurting for them to complain. So does that help with that? It's like we always want to know from the animal's perspective, how are you feeling in your body? The human needs to understand that, okay? And they need to get the animal to the appropriate vet or specialist, okay? And then we can go into the emotional stuff. Okay, does that help? No, you're tracking on the question. So what was the other question that I probably haven't answered yet?
Oh, I was asking, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening will be interested too. How often are you called to talk to pets that have gone, and what is your experience with that?
Okay, actually quite often, all right. In this business, like any other business, you have clients that have been with you for a long time, and we don't advertise, all right? So basically it's word of mouth. We get new clients by referrals, all right, mostly. So if we get calls either where they're getting ready to help the animal pass, or the animal's passed and they want to make sure they're okay and that they understand why perhaps they've been put to sleep, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say a good third of our calls are that type of call. And it really, if you think about this, okay, when I'm doing telepathic communication, which is what we do, I'm talking to the spirit. I think I made that comment in the intro I sent over. We're talking to the spirit, right? So it doesn't matter whether that spirit is still in body or not. And like people, spirits that were in human form, occasionally what can happen is they can get stuck. They don't make it all the way over. So we want to make sure that if they haven't, we kind of help them along. Monica, I know you've run into that. You kind of help them on to the light, okay? But generally they make it. So when they're in spirit, often clients want to know, did they make it okay? Are they okay? And then do they understand why, if they had to put the animal to sleep, why? Okay, so that's the most frequent type of thing we get with animals that have passed. And it's it's very important because it's healing for the people. And it's important to the pets and spirit that their people understand that they're okay. Okay.
And I find that they come back to check on you. And it may be within days or it could be weeks. But they do come back to check on you, because actually what animals are your spirit guides, and their purpose is to be with you and to serve you. And if it means making you laugh or putting a comforting paw on your leg when you're dead tired, then that's what they'll do. Or on my case, sitting on my head. I've got.
Where's the bird, Monica?
Yeah, or the bird. That's the other thing. The bird sits on my head. They make an appearance. They'll make their presence known, and they come back as a younger, youthful animal.
Yeah, I would say usually around 5 or so has been my experience. They kind of even, so they could have been 15 when they passed, but they come back. I don't know. I've had an experience with, I lost a horse about, oh gosh, probably Rusty's been gone about 10 years old, 10 years. Okay. And he made a point because sometimes you have animals come into your life that are just special. They're all special in their own way, and they're all very different, and they all do different jobs for you, I think. Mm-hmm. And Russ was, I had lost a horse rather suddenly to colic, and I didn't have a horse for 10 years because I was grieving so much that horse that had passed suddenly, and started doing some volunteer work with the horse rescue. Well, duh. And there was this sway back, one-eyed, not, big need gelding. And I just, we just bonded. It was like, okay, I didn't even have a barn. I didn't have pasture. I lived in a log home in the woods, right? And I didn't have a horse trailer, nothing. And, I just looked at him, he looked at me, and it's like, he said, you need me, and I need you. And that's how I think animals come into our life. And when he passed on, I wasn't ready for a horse for a while. So but Terri had her horse, and horses are herd animals. So so we got a boarder and a horse that was a boarder. And and that horse passed away. Okay, he was older too. And what was interesting is that Rusty, and to Monica's point, Rusty came back and talked to me, and he said, it's time. It's time. There's going to be a horse that needs you. Okay. And I went over to where I'd been taking lessons on this little mare and said, I need to borrow a horse for a while because Terri's horse was he's a very high-strung horse. He's right-brained and he's extroverted, and he wasn't used to being alone. He didn't feel safe alone, okay? And 2 horses had left him, all right? So, I went over to Eddie's and I said, Eddie, I need to borrow a horse, right? And we walked through the barn, and we came to Cheyenne's stall, who's the horse I have now. He said, I'll give that one to you. Because she didn't work out with what they wanted. Of course, did they work with her? Absolutely not. They just threw a saddle on her and said, let's go trail riding. Yeah, no. She had been a brood mare. And you put an unskilled rider on, and yeehaw, let's go on the trails. And that just, she's not a horse you could do that with. So, I said, well, we'll bring her and see how she does with, because I knew she was basically a good horse. And she never left. He gave her to me.
She is a good horse. She's a wonderful horse.
She's she has taught me so much. And that's, I think, when animals come into Monica, see if you agree or not, but I think when they come in to our lives, whether we plan on it or not, there's a reason. They're here to teach us something. And that mare has taught me an awful lot about horses and how to really work with them, because I had been brought through the tradition of make, whether it be dogs or horses, if they don't know what you ask, then you keep applying pressure until they do. I used to do obedience training with a trainer with dogs. Mm-hmm. And, you don't make this horse do anything. I mean, her personality is such that not going to happen. So I had to learn a different approach. So she's been a huge teacher for me. And the dogs we've had have been huge teachers for us. I had to totally shift everything I've been taught through doing obedience showing And through working with horses as a kid, and thank goodness I was started with horses by a very kind person who didn't like make. So we were taught to ask. So I was taught to ask horses, okay? So I've had animal teachers, and Monica, I know you've got stories too with this, but they teach us. They come to us for a purpose. And so it's up to us to figure out that purpose and to listen. Go ahead. Monica, you have any stories about that?
Well, I was just thinking about Benson. We had a miniature poodle, and he was with us for 7 years before he passed. He was a show dog and a stud, and he was a Can-Am winner, meaning he'd won Canadian.
He was a
Yeah,
double champion.
he was a double champ.
Yep.
But the breeder didn't like the dog because it was only a brown, he carried only brown genes. But he was a spectacular dog, spectacular. She was dying of cancer. She had to get rid of all the dogs in her home. And that was a good amount of dogs. We're talking puppies on up.
I'm sure.
So we had just bought our house in DC and had a yard and came home to look at him, and we flew him home. He was the first dog I've ever had that responded because he was show trained. He taught me how I walk with a dog. He taught me how we stand and wait at a corner. He taught me that this is, you tell me to take a left, I'll take a left, and it's a sharp left. And I thought, oh, this is too easy, because the next dog was hell on wheels.
So you gotta, he was a good training dog.
He had a police record, believe it or not.
Whoa.
What?
He kept getting out of the house because he didn't like it there. His owner gave him to his sister, and he went to Brazil to dig oil or something and left the dog, and the dog was bonded to him, and he didn't know why he was left, and she put him in a basement.
Oh.
So when he'd get out in the yard, he would dig his way out or jump over the fence, and they would find him 5 miles away. And the dog would get a fine and be injected because he didn't have any tags on him that said he had rabies shots. I don't know how many rabies shots this dog got, but that's not good for a dog to have that many shots in 1 year.
No.
It's interesting how much people underestimate how much their animal companions want to be with them. I have a friend that lives in Hyde Park that their son took their cat to I don't know where he moved. It was like a 10-minute drive away, and the cat walked all the way back to their house.
Oh my God.
Because he didn't want to live with the son. He wanted to live with the parents. And that's a pretty determined cat that walked that far. And I think
a dog like that. I fostered a dog that was like that, and she lived in Norwood, the edge of Norwood, from Amberley Village here. You go downhill on Montgomery Road, and she got loose from the new owner, because I'd fostered her. Somebody adopted her, and she moved to Deer Park. She didn't like it. She walked out the door. He called me. He was just upset. And I said, I think I know where she's going. And I drove my car straight down Montgomery Road, asking people if they'd seen a mountain cur, a brindled dog. And they said, oh yeah, she went that way. And she ended up on the front steps of the house. She saw me and she went, oh shit. So I put the collar on her, popped her in the car, and I talked to her on the way home. And I said, honey, he's your new owner. Your mom can't keep you. This is why. And I explained to her why out loud. And, I hope you like him. He loves you. And she stayed with him after that.
Yep, exactly right.
This is a good segue. Do you have some tips that you could, I'm sure a lot of people listening, and obviously you help communicate. What are some tips that you can recommend for people to communicate better with their animals?
Yeah, I was wondering this one as well. Yeah.
Well, I think that keeping in mind that depending on the animal, all right, if it's a dog, well, really, dogs or cats, either one, remember that they see pictures, and remember that they really also, when we have emotional reactions to things, we have body chemistry and their smell changes. And particularly cats use their noses just as much as dogs do. I didn't know that, but they do. So they read us. They can tell, and keeping in mind that we also have this frontal lobe in our brain. So our brains are trained that we're going home from work, we're thinking about all the stuff we got to do when we get home, and we got to, let the dogs out, and we got to, feed the dogs and the cats, and we got, we're thinking about all this stuff. Now, when you're gone all day, probably your dog or your cat is sleeping, right? But yet, when you come home, they're up usually and waiting before you hit your driveway. How do they do that? They do it because you're picturing what you're going to do. So you have to be mindful of, if you're going to do a change, like if you're going to move, if you're going to have a baby, right? Human baby, and bring a baby in, or if you're going to bring a new pet in, you sit down and talk to them, talk to your pets, sit down and just, I know we tell clients this, you just sit down, you don't have to be an animal communicator, just talk to them. They're going to pick up your emotions. They're going to see the pictures, and, just let them know what's going to happen. If someone passes away, the same thing. You need to just sit down and say, Grandma, Carol, she's no longer in her body. Her spirit's gone home. But she's still connected to us because she loves us, and you're still connected to her because you love her. That's the key, is the connection doesn't break if the body leaves. As long as, and there's a movie, a movie that we try to help clients with this by recommending they watch it. It's called Coco.
Coco?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Mhm.
That's really one of the
Perfect.
best depictions of how,
Mhm.
our spirit goes home that I've seen. It was a really good explanation, okay? And our animals do that. They go home too, and they wait for us. And if they've had a human pass out of their lives, Monica, you talked about you and Cindy do some fostering.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, animals come into foster care because their human has passed away.
Yeah.
That's how we got our big Basset. Somebody knew the people, and said, "Hey, I know people that just lost a Basset hound because we had our OB passed away, and they're Basset people, and let's see if they want to give him a home." So that's important, is that if there's going to be a change, that we talk to them.
Can they sense when other animals in the household are terminally ill?
Yes.
Yes.
Smell
Yes,
change.
they can very easily.
I'm sure Miffy could tell Spike was sick, and then, Cat, your dog, I don't know if people treat him differently. Dogs, do
No.
they act like they treat
Mm-mm.
him differently at all?
No, they still sit on his head just like all the others would.
Love it. But I do think that they know, they pick up as your body is getting ready to pass, as the body's getting ready to pass, the body chemistry changes and animals pick up on that. If, as Monica pointed out, they did exactly the right thing. If you can have the animal pass in the home with the other animals, that is the best thing you can do for the others. If you're not aware, in our area, there is an organization called Angels Paws.
Yeah, that's who put my cat down just
Yes, they're
a couple weeks
fantastic.
ago. Yeah, they were really good.
They're
They're really good,
fantastic,
yeah.
and they come to you, and that's what is so important for us, having multiple animals. And that it's important for everyone to do that. I think if you have the time. Sometimes we get contacted after an animal's passed and there are other animals in the home, and they want us to talk to the others as well to make sure they understood what happened.
Yes.
Really, really important as well. So, and again, understanding too that bond does not break. As long as in Coco, They talked about as long as you remember them, the heart connection stays. And we do that. Terri and I have had an awful lot of animals together. I mean, and so, we make sure that we look at pictures of animals that we've had together that have passed. She had a peekapoo when we got together named Nathan. And Nathan he had a heart condition, and he would trot along and then fall over, right? So I took him out to meet the horse, meet Rusty. And he's like, boom, 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 and boom. And this is when she and I were first dating, right? So it's like, and the dog fell over. Terri,
Wow.
the dog fell. She said, oh, just give him a minute. He got up and went right over. Got back up.
Gosh.
So, it's funny.
Poor
It's a funny
dog.
story, but it's funny.
Wow.
Jesus, I mean, I didn't know the dog just fell over.
The dog was
Right.
awesome.
So
I was thinking one of those goats that will
Yes,
just
the
faint.
goats. Yeah,
The
the
goats.
goats.
Yeah, it is like those fainting goats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The blood pressure goes up and they keel over.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we
so
we
I feel like that.
we were pretty sure Miffy knew what was going on, and we let her see. And she seemed pretty sad for a few days. Not as bad as our cat Boris when our first cat that we had her for 20 years. And I never thought that Boris and Natasha were that close, but after Natasha died, I know Boris actually went downhill quickly after that. Like he sat in the room after she'd passed for hours by himself, which he never did. And
Well,
it hit him really hard.
Well, they depend on each other. They
Yeah.
have different jobs. Animals have jobs in your house,
Mm-hmm.
or animals have jobs in your life if you're not living in a stable with a horse. So, that's the thing. They each do different things. So each of our cats does something different for us, and each of our dogs does something different for us. Okay. So you need to understand that and honor that. Okay. TJ's a sighthound, or little Padango's a sighthound. So he endlessly, when we moved to the suburbs here, I mean, we used to live in the country. Our driveway was 250 feet long. It was, they didn't see traffic on the street, right?
Mhm.
Hence the suburbs. He didn't know that people were allowed on the sidewalk. He didn't know that cars were allowed on the road. He didn't know. But that's his job. He's a sighthound. He's going to tell us about everything that happens out there. And so, that points out something else that, if we do take an animal to a different environment, we do need to understand, first of all, if they are purebred, what are they bred for? Okay. If they're a mix, try to guess as best you can, what you might have there. And these days you can do DNA testing and find out. But also kind of try to figure out what do they think their job is for you, right?
Yeah.
Our 60-pound Basset is our couch potato. He is our cuddler. He cuddles. He loves to just be with his people and cuddle with his people. TJ is the squirrel. He's right, squirrel. He's that, right? But that's what he's bred for, right? And Lucas is just happy if there's food in the house somewhere. He is full and lays in the kitchen. If we let him, he would lay in the kitchen all day. Because every time you walk in there, you're going to feed him, right?
No,
He
that's
doesn't
pretty.
understand that. He's almost 14 years old. He doesn't understand these things. But he was starved when he was young.
Oh.
So again, understanding, Monica with working with rescues,
Past trauma.
animals that have come into rescue, understanding the background if you can, helps because we know why Lucas is so food motivated. We know because he was starving.
Mm-hmm.
Bo just as a Basset hound, I like food. Okay, that's he just likes his food. He was pretty obese when we got him, so obviously his people fed him a lot. Okay, and so he's like no, that's not good for a long back dog. That's the other thing in understanding your breed or mix of breeds is you don't let dogs that have really long backs and short legs get fat because you end up with back issues. I don't care if it's a Dachshund or a Basset or whatever, you have to understand what you have and how to keep them
Sean.
healthy. Bassets and dachshunds are dwarfs.
Mhm,
They are
mhm.
physically dwarfs. So they have these misshapen legs and the body is right. Yeah. So you have to understand what you have. And letting a dog like that get heavy is just, you're shortening their life for one thing.
Right.
It just, it causes all kinds of issues. So
Have you ever seen, and this is kind of a weird question, have you ever seen like a presence around somebody that manifested as an animal companion later? Like, do people ever have a spirit around them that becomes?
So reincarnation of animals does happen.
Yes.
yeah.
Like, I mean, like maybe one that hasn't been a companion before, but becomes one. Like, do you ever see like someone in the waiting room, if you will?
That's a great way of putting it. I have not experienced it that way. What I have experienced is an animal that is past sending another one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have had that happen with clients, and it's been very, very clear that they weren't looking for another dog, and lo and behold, they visited a friend, and their female whatever just had a litter, and they were drawn to this puppy. Well, we don't want another dog. We said we were not going to get another dog for pop, 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 pop. There you have it. Okay, you're drawn.
Supposed to happen. Yeah.
It's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
We've had bassets. I have had bassets for a while now, and the first one wandered down our driveway. Okay, literally in the country, and he picked the next one. Okay, so they do come through. It's like we had a dog named Obi, a basset named Obi. He was a red and white, and I am convinced the first beau sent Obi. Because we needed that steady Eddie kind of common sense, low key presence in our house. We needed that. And so the first beau sent us Obi.
It reminds me of, I'm with the Greater Cincinnati Bird Club, which is different than the Birders Club. The Bird Club is with domesticated birds. So we talk parrots a lot. So we were talking about how this one woman acquired this cockatoo. She said that she had just gotten home. She lived in the country and Indiana. And she said, I have a long driveway. And she said, I saw something white on the dirt road. And I thought, well, that's different. And I'm washing my dishes and it's coming closer. And I see it's a bird. And I go, wait a minute, what's a bird doing it like that? She realized it was a cockatoo and she threw the dishes down, ran outside, and slowly walked up to the bird. And the bird was not startled by her, just walked directly up to her, sat on her foot. She put her hand down. He got up and he started saying, cracker, cracker. And she
That's
said,
really cute.
She said, I feel that this bird was sent to me, even though I'm sure he was let loose. He got loose. She said, I put up signs. Nobody's seen this bird. Nobody knew about this bird. So that's how she got this cockatoo. And it was a talker and it was a lover, and it loved to play games and basketball. So, the bird played basketball. But that's how she got her bird. It just wandered down and it found her. And I'm convinced that a lot of the animals I've had found me for a reason.
They do. And each one has a gift. Don't you agree, Monica? Each one has a special gift that they give to you. Yeah, definitely.
All my dogs happen to be humorists, but.
Yeah, I mean, well, Monica, is that, does that surprise you since they had to separate you and I in class because we would get in trouble?
So how did you guys
that's supposed to be quiet.
how did you guys meet? Have you kind of become educated as mediums together, or?
Yes, we were in the same class.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Terri and I were all in the same class.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
We had a large class and a very talented class at that. That we have. And one, Mary Frances up in Middletown, she's got a gift. But, you know, we met each other there and developed our skills. And in a lot of cases, it wasn't very difficult to develop your skills. You just sort of fell into it. It was like falling into a nice pool and you know how to swim already, having never swum before. It's amazing.
That's so interesting.
It's an amazing experience to go through. But I met all these wonderful people who held all these wonderful gifts. And so nobody could hide their thoughts because everybody knew what everybody else was thinking.
Oh,
I
wow,
wouldn't
that's
like
really
that.
cool. Well,
Or
you
the
know,
people were telling them what you were thinking, right? Your people.
Yeah.
We had people like our people just dropping
Instructor.
in. And so we would have repeat drop-ins
Yes.
in class, like, right?
The dead people. Yeah.
The dead people.
oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And they would
And
come back again. And
No,
again.
it's not interesting. It's annoying.
Well, that's
It's
true.
so annoying.
If they ask
So do you have, Kat, do you ever experience that? You said it's annoying.
Oh, I did when I was younger. I have since learned how to block a lot of it out, or I get a bunch of random strangers walking through wherever I was going, "Hey, can you help me?" I'm like, "No, I'm just trying to do my homework."
That's so amazing because I've never had an experience like that. And so I'm always so impressed by people that do. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess some people are, is it just a question of being more open to it or?
I think it just is. I don't know. I've met people like you too, Monica and Cindy, who have gone to classes, and then there's people like me that just bop around life, going, "Well, I see dead people sometimes."
Well, I'll tell you, Kat, that I didn't just go to class because I went to a mediumship event, the Vision Victory of Light. And the reason I went there was because I'd been having the experiences like you've just said, similar. And a lot of those were related to my parents, my mom, my dad. My dad passed before I moved out here. And I knew he was about ready to pass because I had a dream of my house that I grew up in floating up to heaven at night. And I can see my father looking out at me, sort of lit by the wind, by the light in the window. And I said, "Don't let him go yet. Don't wait, Dad, wait." And it stopped. The house stopped at a star. And I said, "Oh, good, he's going to wait for me." And I woke up and I said, "I've got to go see my dad. He's dying." And indeed he was. He passed 2 weeks later.
No.
So that was my first experience in a long time. I experienced stuff like that as a kid. So I knew I'd had these experiences, and I relayed this to eventually my teacher, Joanne Francina. And she said, "Well, that means that you've got potential, you've got the gift, you can hone those skills." She said, "But everybody has those skills. They just need to open themselves to it." Christina. Yeah.
Well, maybe so is it just that I'm not open enough? Is there?
Well, your brain is always working. And if you have, and at night when you sleep, your brain is probably still working out problems of what you've done over the day with your work, your illustrations and stuff. But you've got to take a moment to slow your brain down. And so that meditation, or even just closing your eyes for a while, just to close your eyes and shut everything out, just blocks everything. And then if you're not focusing on all the noise in your head, then you're open to receiving. So that you might try something like that, just for the gift of recuperation for your brain.
Yeah.
I would agree.
That terrifies me.
What's that?
It's really not as scary as
I don't want
being
to talk to
described
dead
as.
people though.
I didn't either. Wait a minute. I didn't either because for me, I love animals. They've always been much better companions to me than people. But my dad died when I was 19. Okay. And I'm daddy's girl. So I would go up to the cemetery and sit and talk to my dad. And it's just something that I've always done through my adult life. And when I started doing the animal communication, really started exploring psychic stuff, I noticed that when I would talk to my dad, he started talking back. And I'm like, okay, then, you know, and again, I could see him. I mean, I could see him. He wasn't sitting on his gravestone or anything, but I mean, I could see him in my mind. And my mom passed about 3 years ago. So now this, funny story, real quick. My mother is devout Catholic, or was a devout Catholic, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So she has the talk with me before she passes. And she says she was going to get cremated because the Catholic Church does allow those things now. And she said, now what I want you to do, because my dad died when I was 19, she actually remarried. Okay.
Mhm.
And then he died because he was the same age as my dad. Why she did this, I don't know. She was younger. Like older man, who knows? But anyway, she said, this is what I want you to do. She said, I want you to take half the ashes and put them in the crematorium with her second husband. And I want you to take the other half of the ashes back to Ohio. And I want you to have them buried with your dad.
Wow.
I'm going, this is my devout Catholic. Do you know that she said, we cannot tell the priest. Do not tell the priest. But I'm like, you know, I think even someone like my mom, right, that was very devout, strict Catholic, understood that her intention was that she wanted to be with both these people in spirit.
Mhm.
Okay. And that was her way of translating that, thinking that somehow if you divided the ashes up, that would happen. And my stepdad had been married before as well, and his wife passed away. So my first image of them, when we started doing exercises of mediumship, you know, one of the things I did is I tried to reach out to my parents. And I asked my mom, I said, well, do you see Dad, or do you just see Vic, or what? And she said, Vic was my stepdad. And she said, oh, well, you know, Vic and Irene and Bob is my dad, and we have tea and we play cards. She liked to play.
Nice.
You know, I said, that is so cool, because, you know, I knew Irene and Vic growing up. They were my aunt and uncle, so to speak. They weren't biologically, but they were friends of, it's a long story. They were all in Hawaii during World War II.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, my mom was raised in Kauai. So
Oh, that's so interesting.
yeah. So you know, so that you know, I think we all have this sense in the back of our minds. We want everything to be logical, especially I think we Americans want to have this, everything has to make sense and da, 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 da. But down deep, I think we know that there's a connection, and there, it doesn't go away. It's a connection of spirit. It doesn't go away when the body goes away.
What you're really learning is what you're really saying is what the ancients have been doing for generations. I mean, you know, Japanese ancients, Native American ancients, and they all had that. They all spoke to their relatives on the other side, on the other plane. They knew how to do that and honor and respect. The Aztecs had the Day of the Dead to honor the dead. So, you know, it's true.
That could be a whole other show about why things have gotten away from that. Why do you think that the society
well,
has
it's
gotten
not
away
everywhere that's gotten away from it.
But it
You're in
seems like
Japan, you go to you have the
spirit, and in China too, where they have the spirit houses and you give the money to your relatives and stuff.
Well, yeah, there's spirit houses. Like my host family would go say hello to everybody who had passed away every morning to the family altar that was in the living room.
Yeah.
I would help bring the oranges.
Oh.
But actually, that does go to a certain question that I got. So earlier today, I posed to my friends on Facebook asking for ghost stories about pets and whatnot, and did not get a lot of answers. But I did get one question saying that she saw a lot of her past pets returning in dreams. So is this something that you have had reported to you before?
Yes.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Along that line, do you ever see the same animal like returning in another, like to the same person, like their spirit returning to the same person?
Yes, in a different body.
Yeah. Okay.
We've experienced that ourselves as well. Like the bow we have now
Mhm.
is an awful lot like that original bow that walked down the driveway. And
Aw.
okay, so he even looks a lot like him. So is that, you know, the way I look at it is more that the original spirit found that spirit and said, they need you again.
Aw.
And sent it. And because he came to us in a really roundabout way. So I think that, you know, spirits will not necessarily recycle back in. They can, all right. Like I said, this bow is an awful lot like the first one. But I think he's also a distinct spirit. Okay. But I firmly believe that animals can recycle. I call it recycling. They recycle into a new body and come back to us if they haven't done their work entirely with us. They come back to us. Okay. I had one horse that passed away. Didn't have a horse for 10 years. The one that came, the one-eyed, sway-backed, you know, God love him, was not that horse that passed away before, but the horse that passed away, that spirit sent that horse when I was ready.
Mhm.
He sent the right horse. And that horse sent the mare I have now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Okay.
There's a theory called soul groups,
Yes.
which is you don't have soul mates, you have soul groups.
They're more
So there'll be a group of different spirit. It could be animal, it could be human, that you'll just naturally get along with. And so this could be an idea of not necessarily the same spirit coming back, but somebody from the same soul group coming over to say
yes.
hi.
See, that explains me and Cindy right there.
You and your Cindy, not Miss Cindy. You're Cindy.
No, you're Cindy. You.
Me. Okay. All right. Where did we figure that out? We figured that out in class.
We figured that out in class.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
there's
neat.
that there's a connection to
Yeah.
to each of us.
I like the concept. So my mom was raised Catholic, but she converted to Buddhism when she was in her 30s. So I was raised predominantly with Buddhist ideology or ideas. And my favorite one from that is reincarnation.
Mhm.
And she used to tell me that, you know, your dog may die, but if they're a really good soul, they can come back as, I don't know, your sister, or they'll come back as a human in their next life because they were great. They were good in their previous life. So I always kind of liked that idea. But she also used to tell me that my mom could have been my best friend in a previous life, or, you know, that the same souls do find each other, but like I could have been someone's mom or brother or dog. I used to tell mom I was a dog. Either I did or my brother. It was one of us. But I always I love that idea that you can be reincarnated with the same souls, that you're always connected.
You're
those
always
people.
connected to family and friends, your circle of friends. You're always connected, and you're always coming back in a different role, but with the same spirit.
Yep.
Oh, that's
within.
really interesting. And we probably should get close to wrapping up. Did we want to do a quick reading of some kind? Is
If
that
somebody's got a picture, we can certainly do that. Or Monica, do you want me to
What?
talk? Who have you got there?
I got Scooter. You want to talk to Scooter?
Is that Scooter?
Oh,
Okay.
This
Let
is
me
Scooter.
see
This
Scooter.
is
Can I see Scooter's
Crash.
face?
This is
Huh?
Crash.
This is Crash.
Scooter. I call him Crash. He crashes into the mirror. He forgets about that mirror at the end of the hall, and
He
every
says
so often he runs into it.
he likes it there. He says he finds the birds very, he used the term weird. And notice his eyes, you notice his eyes are blinking. That's how you can often tell an animal's communicating. Okay, so Crash, what do you like about living there? What do you like about living there? They cuddle me a lot, he says. They cuddle me a lot. And it's a he, right? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, he says, they cuddle me a lot. He says, and I get to be on the furniture. And he says, they tell me I'm really cute and pretty. And he says, it's nice for people to know that I'm cute and pretty, because I know I'm cute and pretty, but people didn't tell me that before a lot, and they do. And I like that a lot. And he says, and I really, really like the couch a lot. He says, and He said the birds, he said, I like the birds, but they need to stay in their cages because some of them are almost as big as me.
Yes.
And he says they look at me kind of funny, like he said they kind of turn and look at me with one eye and they turn and look at me with the other eye, he said, and they don't look very happy. So I don't think they really want to see me too much.
Well, yes, that's true.
Yeah. He says, now, is it a brother or sister that's with him?
Brother.
It's his brother? And they came together, right?
They came together.
Have they always lived together?
Yes, they're two. They're 2 years old.
Okay, this really ties into what we were talking about before, all right? Because they travel together in and out of body, all right? In and out of body. So they travel together, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so were you always dogs? He said, no. He said, once we were horses and we didn't like that at all. He said, so we got out of that real quick. He said, people aren't always nice to horses. I said, well, I know, especially depending on when you were horses. Yeah, things have changed a little bit. Okay, so yeah, all right. So he said this time around is better.
He looks content.
Yeah.
Very.
He says, there's one bird, Monica, that he is just like, does not like.
Oh, that would be Cookie.
Huh?
Cookie.
Oh,
The-
okay.
The
Yeah,
Gen
he
Day
said,
Tanya.
yeah. He said, I
Yeah,
don't want to
like-
be anywhere near that one.
He does not fit in that cage. He
He
does
said,
not
that one, he
fit
said,
in
that
cage.
one's not afraid of me at all. It does not have proper respect for me.
And
and
it's,
so he
it's
says
not
that-
that big. The thing is, it's the short
Doesn't
side
matter.
Tanya.
Monica, energy field, big
That's right.
energy field, right?
Well, he does do that. He does do that. Whoops.
Yeah.
He does puff out and he scares the heck
Oh, yeah,
out of me.
he makes himself really, in the energy
he
comes
does.
out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what I'm telling this little guy is that he just needs to keep his energy real steady and just
Mhm.
send a thought that bird is not allowed to hurt you in any way. And I
Okay.
also want to tell you guys, little one, yes, that you know what? Yeah, that your moms, I know your moms, and they are very good at keeping everybody in their house safe. So they will keep the birds safe from you and you safe from the birds. Okay, so you gotta trust your moms. Okay, you gotta trust your moms.
He looks
nodded.
reassured.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
nodded.
Yeah.
He did nod. Thank you. Hey, Christina, let's see if we can get something on your cat.
Oh, do you want, I could share screen with a picture.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do
Let
that.
me see if I can find,
Can I ask a question real quick?
ask a question while I get that picture up.
So the other day, this was last weekend, I was kind of waking up and I heard a very loud meow.
Mhm.
And it sounded like it was coming from my living room, but
Mhm.
my cat was asleep at the foot of my bed. What could that have been, do you think?
I think that one possibility in my mind, again, is remember they visit, they come back. So either A, it's a cat that has lived with you at some point in your life, or B, it's a cat that has lived in that place at one time or another.
Okay.
Because they sometimes, I've had clients where, they moved into an apartment, for example, okay?
Mhm.
And their cat is looking, and that's a really good thing for me to put. If you have a cat or a dog, cats in particular are really good at this. If your cat starts looking up in the corner of a room, up by the ceiling, you have a visitor. Especially if those eyes, and there's no bugs in the room. You have to make sure there's no bugs in the room, right?
Mhm.
So it's not like a fly or something, but they'll look and their eyes will start going back and forth and their ears, well, they do radar ears and all that. Yeah,
Mhm.
so pay attention. If that happens, pay attention because you've got a visitor.
Okay.
Could be human,
Sure.
could be somebody that lived in
And
your
she
house.
can address it, couldn't she? She could address it at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, we
yes.
do that. We do
Right?
it. Now, this was a
We could
new
do that.
house.
Yeah.
But we had an instance where we lived in a log home before that we had built on property.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, what we did not know is we built on an Indian, where an Indian tribe had lived. And they were very ancient, like pre-Adena. And they were not, we had a friend, I had a roommate for a while that was not, She's not a believer in any of this, and she was kind of closed off person, and they didn't like her. And they made it really, really clear they didn't like her. And I could hear them. You know, you can't understand the language, but you get the emotion. And it was like, that person needs to leave. That person is not welcome here.
Wow. That's pretty
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll share screen.
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's see if
And who is
yeah,
this?
there. That's Spike.
It's Spike. Now, is Spike in body or not?
No.
Yeah,
Spike gone.
Spike is Spike. Okay. So let me get my master teacher. Can you go find this one for me, please? Hote. Yeah, wake up. Yes, you have to do a decent animal. Yeah, Monica's met a Hote. Yes. Would you please
Yes.
go find this cat, please? Okay. And again, what is the name?
Spike.
Spike. Okay. Oh my gosh, he is gorgeous. He is just, you know how cats have a presence. All right. This cat had a huge presence because he is strutting up and the tail is up with question mark, and he's just boom, 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 and he's sitting down the tail like, yes. And you want what? Your mom wants to talk to you. So do you have a question for him? Do you have questions for Spike?
Well, I mean, we just hope that he didn't feel, I mean, he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah. So Spike, yeah, did you hear what your mom said? He says, well, he says, you know, we get attached to our families, he says, and sometimes cats don't always say or show that they're real attached to their families. He said, but I was very attached to my family. He says, but I knew it was time. He said, you know, you humans don't understand this. He says, the body is simply a container. He says, and you humans get so attached to that. And he says, but you know, we don't as much. He said, you know, cats, of course, are much better at this than dogs. Okay. All right. Well, I'll honor that opinion. And yes, okay. My dog might have something else to say about that, but I'm sure my cats would agree with you. Yes. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So he says that we understand that this body is not our only existence. He says animals understand this. He says humans have to like put it in logical form and make rules around it. He said, but you know, we animals most of the time we remember. He says, I knew where I was going. I knew where my spirit was going. He said, I was just going to go home. He said, and did I want to leave my family? No, I didn't want to leave my family, but at the same time, I know that I'm still with my family. You know, he says, you know, you told earlier, he was listening, by the way. He said, you told earlier, he says, as long as they remember me and I remember them, we're still together. They just can't, they don't have to pick cat hair off their clothes anymore, that's all. But, you know, it's fine. He said, it's fine. I'm always with her. I'm always with them. Christina, do you have a young one, a young child?
No, just cats.
Just cats? Okay.
But we just got 2 little cats.
He says, well, I know. He says, and you know, they're babies. He said, what can I tell you? He said, they're babies. He said, but you know, he said, the one in particular, and I don't know which one it is, he says, going to be a lot like him in the sense of being caretaker of the family. He says, the other one is going to be more your entertainment.
I could believe that.
They're going to be very different. He said, they're going to be very different. He says, but I'm instructing, he says, you need both. He said, and I'm instructing the one on how to be the caretaker of the family. He says, because the one has to take care of everybody and the other one has to make sure that everybody feels loved and laughs. He said, so they're going to have very different roles in the family. He said, you know, I wasn't so much fun, you know, funny when I was older. He said, my back hurt. He said,
That's possible.
Yeah, he said my back hurts and I couldn't. He used to like to do something where he get over on his belly and do silly things.
Yeah, he used to lie on his back and like pray. He'd do like this praying motion.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that, so much when he got older.
Yeah, he said when he got older, he couldn't do that because he said that was my trick that made everyone smile at me. He said he liked that, you know, so yeah. Yeah. So you're watching over your family? Good. And he's teaching the one how to be a caretaker. So what other questions do you have? Anything? You want to tell him anything? He can hear you, by the way.
Uh-huh.
So, you can tell him anything you want. He'll hear you.
Well, we really miss him.
Huh?
We really miss him.
He says, I know. He said, I wish that I could, I wish you could see me. He says, I don't quite know how to do that yet. I mean, I can see him in my head, but I also using the picture. So he's coming. That's a good thing to point out. They will come in the form that we knew them in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Even though souls recycle, if you will, or come back into different bodies, they will, when we talk with them, whether you're a psychic medium talking to someone that you knew in human form, or whether you're talking to someone that spirit that you've known in animal form, they're going to present themselves as young form of themselves. So, for example, that old horse I had when I talked to him on the other side, he had 2 eyes. He looked like he was 5 years old. He was stunning. Okay, they tend to
wow.
go back 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years old. So that's what this cat's doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is just very, very elegant. This animal, this cat is very elegant.
Yeah,
He's
we called him a gentleman's gentle cat.
Yeah, he just
He liked to bring us clothing.
Yes.
Aww.
And the tuxedo fits. He says, the tuxedo.
Yeah, he would join us for dinner, but not beg for food. He would sit at the table with us.
Well, he had to, participate in the family social time.
Yeah.
He very much did not see himself as being a cat. He understood he was a cat, but he didn't see himself as less than human.
Oh, well, that was obvious.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, some cats are a lot of cats are like that, but not all.
Uh-huh.
Right? So, he definitely felt he was on even keel with you and your housemate. So, yeah. What else would you like to say to your mom? He says that just for you to trust that the 2 new ones are going to be fine, and to not expect them to be like him. He says because he's totally a unique spirit, but that you will have a part of his. And I'm putting this in quotes here, double quotes. A part of him will come through in the one he's really working with to be the caretaker. Okay. So that will remind you more of him than the other.
What were you saying, Monica?
I think it's Bob. I got a picture of Bob.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. Bob is is Bob the Siamese?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Tail. Bob has a clipped off tail, Cindy, and Bob is a Siamese mix. Whereas, what's the other name?
Conan.
Conan is an orange marmalade.
Yeah, they're brothers though. They're from the same litter.
Which I find amazing, but I think it's Bob. But so keep an eye on Bob.
I will. I mean, we'll keep an eye on both of them.
Yeah. And when you dream, you know that your dreams will have pitter patters of feet running through them, and that's him too.
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of that when you dream. And you can also say, "I'd like to see you," in dreams sometime, and maybe he will flourish and make himself known.
Yeah, I see them out of the corner of my eye, like like one of my first experiences with it. Again, the big black dog Gaylord. He had passed, and I looked out my back door of my old house one day, and it was snowing out, and I saw him running in the snow in the backyard, and I'm like, "What? How did he get out there? How did he get out there? What is he doing in the backyard? I did not let him out." And it's like, Cindy, he died. He's gone. He died.
Wow.
I saw him clear as day, running in the snow in the backyard, doing what he always used to do when it snowed, which is try to buck the snowflakes off his back. Okay.
Wow.
So they will and I wasn't thinking about him. I wasn't trying to see him. It's before I got into all this stuff. But there he was. So
wow, that's so
sometimes
cool.
as you set that intention that, you are open for them to visit,
Mhm.
and you're open in whatever form. Monica mentioned dreams. I see them, like I said, out of the corner of my eye real quick. Or, they're going to pick whatever way you're comfortable, I think. Don't you, Monica?
Yeah, they do. They pick whatever way is comfortable. They can materialize because their energy is so heavy in the place they once lived that their energy remains to a point. And so that spiritual energy vibrates really high and comes across as perhaps a blurry image, a shadow, or a whole image of the animal itself. A couple had they were videotaping their child on the floor, and they had just moved in, or they had lost their dog recently, and so as they're videotaping, they videotape the image of this dog walking down the hall, past the camera, over to the food bowl and disappearing.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's on
Like an
film.
echo.
It's on film. And
That's cool.
they had no idea that this could happen. There you go. Your energy stays here.
Mhm.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to kind of sign off because my battery is low.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no.
What about Kat? You've got your dog friend there behind you.
Okay, so yeah, Chewy is behind me, but I also have Wheatley. Wheatley, come on, buddy. Come on. Can you get
Oh,
it? There we go.
oh my goodness. Talk about contrast. Okay.
This is my big boy.
Oh,
This is my young pup.
Okay. So
Hi, Wheatley.
who's
Yeah.
who's the one in your
Do you have
lap?
anything you want to say besides licking my face?
All right. So who's in your lap?
This is Wheatley.
Wheatley.
Wheatley. Oh, I'm sorry, I sat on your foot.
And then the other one is who?
It's Chewy, like
Wheatley and
Chewbacca.
Chew. Okay. Gotcha. I'm going to write it down because my memory is like Chewbacca. Okay. Chewbacca. Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Oh, good. She's plugging in.
Wheatley.
I'm plugging in.
Yay!
Wheatley. Hi, bud. You want to talk to me for a minute? He doesn't have to look at me, hon. It's fine. Hi, Wheatley. What I do want is for you to say something that will pop up on your screen. You'll get bigger. I need to see him a little bit better.
Did you hear that? Hi, guys. No.
Well,
Sorry,
the
what
other-
did you say?
She wants to see you talk so that she can see you're bigger on the Zoom.
Yeah, I want to see. Yeah, I want to see his face if I can. Either
Okay.
one. Whoever wants to talk needs to show the face.
Guys,
Boys,
time to play. Come on. Come back.
they're both boys, right?
Yep.
I thought so.
Chewy.
It's okay. Who wants to talk to me?
Okay. You want to do it.
Okay.
This is Chewy.
Hi, sweetheart. That's a big boy.
Wow, that's a beauty.
Hi.
He's our 2-year-old.
He
One
said,
of them.
It's my turn. He said, it's my turn. He says, I want to do this. He said, because you need to understand that I'm very important too. And I'm a big boy and I'm smart and I don't care what the other one says. He said, I don't care what Wheatley says. I am very smart. He said, I'm just also a lot cuter. And he says, and he said, but I want to learn something new, Mom. I want to learn something new. He said, I get in trouble when I'm not learning things. So what kinds of things do you want to learn? What kinds of things do you want to learn, Chewy? Hi, Monica. What kinds of things do you want to learn, Chewy? Well, he says, okay. He says he wants to learn to do some things like, yeah, okay. So jump over things or what? What, can you tell me? He likes to strut his stuff. So that's one thing. He loves to go out where people can see him and tell him how pretty he is. Okay, so that's one thing. He likes to strut his stuff. The other thing with him is he would love to do something like, he might really be interested in agility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doing obstacles. Because and he's very social. He wants people to know how smart he is. He wants people to know how pretty he is. And he's a dog that you're going to have to keep busy, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to be doing things with this one. I mean, you really have to be doing things with him. So anything you can do in the way of making sure he gets enough exercise, first of all. But I don't care, teach him to be a Frisbee dog, teach him to do obstacle courses, teach him, he needs exercise, really needs exercise, a little bit more than the other one does. I don't get that quite so much with Wheatley as I do with Chewy. Chewy is a little busy bee.
Yes, he is.
Very little busy. He's a very, very busy bee, but that's good. It just means it's a challenge for you as his human to keep that, keep that occupied and channeled in a good direction. Because if you don't, he's going to find things to do that you may not like, not out of being a stinker, but rather because he just needs to be busy. He needs to be mentally engaged and physically engaged, both. Okay. He loves his people. He loves to cuddle. He loves to be petted. But he's a doer. He's definitely a doer. So you got to keep him involved in stuff. And right now it's hard because of COVID, but depending upon where you live, there are dog, obedience clubs all over the place that teach basic obedience and then go into agility stuff and obstacles. And what I've found with dogs like this, and this is a lot like our little one, okay? Busy, 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 right? So I've been able to teach him some stuff here, but of the three of ours, he's the one that needs to get out and walk. He needs to go in the truck. He needs to learn things. And as soon as things open back up, he's 10 years old, but he's going to obedience class because he needs to learn. And I think he'd be really great and enjoy agility. I don't want to show him. I'm not into that anymore, but I want him to be able to keep busy and do things and have a purpose. He really needs purpose. This dog needs purpose. Okay. If so anything you can do to give him a job. Let me ask him. So Chewy, what do you think your job is in your family? What is your job? You need to keep on top of things. Why? He said, well, somebody has to, and Wheatley, he says that Wheatley's not quite as on things as on top of things as this guy is, as Chewy is. So he kind of looks out for him too. Okay. Okay. But he says he's learning to be a really good watcher, and he's teaching Wheatley that can be something that he can do too, is watch. He said, because sometimes I need a nap. And sometimes Wheatley needs a nap. So it's okay. We can do it together. He says, but he really likes to get out and walk. And I'm not saying he's good at walking on a leash, but he likes to go out. He's very social. Very, very social. Let me ask, okay, Wheatley, what? Wheatley says, well, I like people too, just not the same. He says, I don't have to be. So yeah, Wheatley doesn't feel quite like he needs to be a center of attention, whereas Chewy does. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, some dogs don't need that. Some dogs aren't that social or extroverted, but they're also very closely bonded. Did they come together, or did you get one and then the other?
Well, no, they're 9 years apart in age.
Okay.
But the fun thing is Wheatley is Chewy's uncle.
Well, that's really cool. Wow. Let me ask them if they know that.
That's good.
You guys know you're related to each other? Wheatley says, well, I thought something was strange. Wheatley's got a sense of humor. Wheatley has got a very dry sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
And he's very, he's going to talk too. He's content to kind of get in the background a little bit and let, Chewy get in front and be the puppy thing and all extrovert. But Wheatley says for you to know that he's also teaching. he's
Mhm.
teaching Chewy that there are responsibilities in being a family dog. Okay. And Wheatley is aware that he's older. Okay. He doesn't see that he's leaving anytime soon. All right. But he says, I have a lot to teach this one.
Mhm.
And I'm explaining to him that Chewy, even though he's 2, is that right? 2?
Yeah.
Even though Chewy's 2 years old, in his head, he's younger. And Wheatley's like, I know. So he has to teach him what I'm telling him is Wheatley is to teach Chewy in small little pieces, rinse and repeat.
Mhm.
Okay, so Wheatley, you take things and you break them down into little parts and teach him one part at a time. And then you try to put 2 parts together and then 3 parts. And then you have to teach him like that, Wheatley, because his brain doesn't work like yours does. And plus he can't focus like you can. He's too young yet. Yeah, he's too young. Okay. Give him something to do, though, please, for your own sanity.
Yeah.
Give that dog something to do. You can start. I mean, he would be a great dog to teach tricks to.
Mhm.
And so you can get him out and about and into maybe an obedience school or something like that. If you decide to do that, by the way, you have every right to go and watch how the teachers teach,
Oh yeah.
right? No, I mean, just know you in fact should do that.
Mhm.
This comes from somebody who did a lot of obedience stuff and showed dogs in obedience. Um, and you're going to resonate with somebody. So go and check them out. What area of town are you in?
So we live in Oakley.
You live in Oakley. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of who's down that way. If you were out in northeastern area of the city,
Mhm.
Circle Tail is where we've taken. We used to live out there also, but we've taken a couple of dogs through her training, and she's very, very good, and she's very kind.
Mhm.
But you're going to resonate with somebody. But go visit some of the dog training clubs in the area. And the other thing is that I'm talking to your dogs too. That the way in which dogs are taught now is really different than when
Mhm.
I was doing obedience work. So it's a lot more getting the dog's mind engaged. And with that one, you better get the brain. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got to do it in real small little, because his ability to focus for more than 5 seconds is like, and that's where typically he's young.
Mhm.
You're used to Wheatley. Wheatley is a mature dog.
Yeah, he is.
And Wheatley came in being more of a mature soul than Chewy. Chewy is a young soul. Do you understand? We were talking about
Oh.
recycling earlier. The souls recycle. Okay. Souls, gain wisdom as they come into body several times. And so, let's say we could say Wheatley's been around a good deal more as a spirit than
Yeah.
Chewy. So, Chewy's just not got that knowledge base. I know.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So just understand that. And because when we get dogs that are similar to each other in the way they look,
Mhm.
similar breeds or whatever, we unconsciously expect them to be like the other one. I mean, we're on
Mhm.
Basset Hound number 8 and 9, I think. Okay. And even though Bo looks like the original Bo, I don't expect him to be like that original Bo.
Mhm.
They have some similarities. Their coloring's very, very similar. Their personalities are somewhat similar, but they're each very distinct personalities, if that makes any sense. And
Oh
Lucas
yeah.
reminds us of Maggie, who we had, that was our second Basset. And she was the most
Mhm.
cheerful, loving soul you would ever want to meet. So is Lucas. But Lucas is not Maggie. Maggie may have sent him
Mhm.
because we needed a cheerful, happy, dog, right? So they know. What other questions do you have?
No, that was it. I kind of wish that you could have talked to Mickey, but she kind of walked away. So.
Okay, I do want to ask you one thing, if you don't mind. So
Sure.
how are you feeling in your body? Since he's a little bit older, how are you feeling in your body, sweetie? Can you show me? Can you show me real quick? You can tell me or show me. I don't care. It's all right. Whichever way you want to do. Okay. Okay. Give me a minute, Mom. All right. How long has that been going on? Okay. And what else? Okay. All right. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Middle back on Wheatley. His middle of his back is stiff, and his left patella, left knee in the rear. Keep an eye. I don't know if those dogs are prone to patella issues or not, but on the left rear leg, that knee is starting to bother him. Okay. You know where the knee is on a dog? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's confusing because anatomy doesn't translate on the rear legs, whereas it does on the front legs. So I
No.
can't say, elbow is elbow on the front, right? But they've got that extra
Right.
leg back there that we don't have.
Yeah.
So, okay. So is he on any kind of, so you guys are getting a reading. Is he on any kind of supplement for joint issues?
Yeah.
Have you talked to your vet about it?
Yeah.
And the vet has him on something?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Very good. That's really important
Yeah.
for him. The other thing is, what else? Okay, keep him warm. It's, dogs lay on the floor. So we lay on the floor. They can lay on the stuff like, couches and chairs and things, but they lay a lot on the floor. So with a dog like him, you want a nice balance on a dog bed between you don't want to get something real deep because it's going to be harder for him to get in and out of. Make sense? But you don't want it real thin either. You want to cushion him a little bit. But don't get it too deep because if he's got patella and a back issue, it's going to be hard for him to get out. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we get the foam,
The memory foam.
Yeah, it's a memory foam.
Yeah, and then you put a cover over it, right? And so we've got older animals, so
Yeah.
our youngest is 10. So it's that makes it a little bit easier. They don't get sunk in there.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
If he wants to, does he get on the furniture?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All the
What you
time.
may start noticing is he may have a little bit of trouble pushing himself up. You can get steps, portable steps, if he, and help him. Okay, that's how I have a pickup truck. That is how I get our old one. I don't even try to get the big Basset in there. We take him in the Subaru, but I can get Lucas in, but I have steps for Lucas, our old one. And so he can go up the steps and get in to the back of the truck if he has to go to the vet or groomer or whatever. Okay, so you can do the same with furniture.
Yeah.
Lucas doesn't get up anymore on the couch unless we really help him. Okay, he chose not to anymore, and that's fine. But yeah, in and out of vehicles, things like that. You may want to consider that. You have to train him on.
Oops.
Or ramp. You could use a ramp too. Oops. What'd you do, Monica?
I managed to see the ceiling. Sorry about that. This is
maybe
good.
somebody's visiting, Monica. I don't know. Do you have any other questions, though? About
No, it's interesting that you pointed out to where he's ill because that's exactly where he is ill. With the left hind leg, when he was 3, he ran into a post and punctured his kneecap. So he has been on. Oh, it was not a pretty. There was blood everywhere, but it was. But yeah, he's been on a diet to make sure he never gets overweight because it would put a lot of strain on his knees. And yeah, he's been on basically not a glucosamine supplement, but something similar to that since he's been 4.
The
for
other
that
thing
reason.
that can be really helpful, especially as dogs begin to age, is chiropractic and acupuncture. Okay, we have somebody that actually comes to the house and does both of our Bassets. She says the Podango doesn't need it yet. And then she goes out and does my horse for me because I'm still riding my horse. Terry's horse is
Wow.
retired. He's 31. He just looks pretty. But you know, my horse I still ride and do things with, and we do obstacles and stuff. So she goes out and adjusts her and does acupuncture with her as well. So it's very effective with dogs.
Mhm.
Really, we've been doing it with dogs and horses, our dogs and horses, for years. And it really makes a difference, especially as they start to age a little bit. It really
Right.
makes a difference. So
Mhm.
consider that if you would.
If I can interject, what's the name of your chiropractor?
The veterinarian that comes out to see ours is Dr. Brittany Cother. She is
Cother.
actually out of Wilmington, but she makes house calls.
Excellent.
So, you know, she comes out here, she does the Basset Hounds, and then we drive to the barn and we do Cheyenne, my horse. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what I like is she does both. And our animal, even our cats love her. I mean, she doesn't do anything with them, but they
Just
come
like
and,
her.
yeah, I mean, one cat comes with one Basset and the other cat comes with the other Basset. And they watch, they supervise. Right? So it's like, and the cat in the basement, the barn cat just kind of, she stays and observes from the top of the steps. But yeah, each cat, the other two cats, they have their dog. And so they watch what she does with them.
So we're
Okay.
almost at 2 hours. Did you want to say anything about Betsy? Jen?
Sure.
Is Betsy
Hold on,
there?
she will not let me, so I'll just show you a picture. Is that okay?
Sure, of course.
Can you share
Um,
screen?
Oh,
Oh, Betsy's so
I don't
sweet.
know how to do that. I'm sorry. Can you see her okay?
Yeah, is she still in body or not?
She is.
Okay.
My main questions for her is why doesn't she cuddle with me?
Okay.
And is she feeling okay?
Let me ask the second question first. How are you feeling in your body, sweetheart? Yeah, that's what I thought. Tell me again, where? Okay. This cat is having some issues. She's just having some sore joints, okay? And I don't think she's that old, is she? She doesn't
She's
feel to me.
about 15.
Oh, is she? Okay. Well, I'll tell you, she doesn't feel that old to me at all. And for a cat can go to be 20 these days, right? So that's probably late middle age. Okay, so yeah, I've got her. It's okay. You can put it down.
Okay.
You're good. All right, so she is really having some issues with, yeah, especially she's having joint issues, and it's not isolated. She talked about her hips initially, okay, and then she talked about her shoulders. So not so much back with her as it's the shoulders and the hips, okay. She is talking about when it gets damp outside. So you have a combination of cold and damp, like we had a couple of days ago, where it was a little colder than it is tonight, and it was damp. Okay, that even though she tells me she's mostly indoors,
Mm-hmm.
not an in and out cat, she's an indoor.
Nope. Indoor. Yep.
Okay, that she can still feel that.
Okay.
Okay, so it's that combination of cold and damp that really bothers her outside. And she said she can feel it when it does that outside, she can feel it in the inside. Okay, so just that's something we're not aware of, see, because we're so used to heating and cooling, but our animals respond to it in a different way, kind of than we do. All right. And each animal is an individual. So you can have two cats and one can get cold and feel cold and start, fluffing their fur up way before the other one does. It's just like us, right? Terri gets cold much quicker than I do. She's from Oklahoma. Of course she does. I'm from Ohio. So we were raised in different temperate zones, if you will. All right. So be aware of that. One thing you may want to try with her if you haven't already, that we do with our the cat that tends to want to stay in the basement a lot. And we did this because of when they were barn cats. You can get discs that you can heat in your microwave for a couple. We call them worm. Our cats know those are the worm things. We call them the worm things. We would take and put underneath their bedding, because our cats had a big, when they were babies, because our 2 barn cats, 5 weeks old, and somebody dumped them, okay?
Oh.
In our ditch. So I said, if you're going to stay, you're going to be barn cats. And we put them in a big cage in the barn for a while until they got big enough that they could defend themselves a little bit. And story short, warm thing, right? And you put it in blankets or in the bed and let her lay. You have to make sure that it's not too hot for her. Okay? That will help her. That actually is a little safer than a heating pad.
Okay.
The other thing you can do is a hot water bottle, the same principle.
Okay.
And the thing that's really important with cats, I think in particular, especially older cats, is like, this is for you. I'm doing this especially just for you because I love you. And I want you to be as comfortable as you can be. Okay. Now the vet's seen her, is that right? Is your vet aware of this?
Say that again?
The vet aware that she's slowing down and having some discomfort?
No, because she doesn't act like, I mean, she sits
She's
in bed
still
all day.
jumping. She's still jumping
Yeah.
on.
Just the bed. Yeah.
Okay. So, and she goes to the vet once a year?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I
I'm not
haven't had her
putting
for
on the spot.
very
I'm not
long.
putting on the spot. Huh?
I haven't had her very long.
Okay. All I'm saying is when we have animals that are getting into their senior years, sometimes they need to go a little more often because cats in particular are tricky because they can dehydrate really quickly. Okay, so do you know how to check for that? It's the same as in people. You go right between the shoulder blades.
For the skin, if it goes back?
Yeah, if it goes back. You really, especially with senior cats, you have to really watch that.
Okay.
And make sure that you change the water every day.
Okay.
And make sure it's accessible. And I'm asking her how her mouth feels. Now there's a reason, so hold on. How does it feel when you chew your food, sweetheart? Okay. Is she getting kibble and wet food?
Yes.
Good. All right. She may be having an issue in the back of the mouth on the right side. Says she has a little trouble with the kibble back, grinding back there.
Okay.
Okay. So the fact that you're giving her both, which is what we do as well with our seniors, is, we've always done that with the cats anyway, because our cats were out, 2 of them were outdoors. So to make sure we saw them every day on the farm, wet food,
Yeah.
that was the treat. That's how we got the outdoor cats to come in. So we made sure that they were still with us. Okay. So that's good. But just be aware, she may be starting some dental issues in the back on the right, up and down both. And I'm letting her know she's really important that she is drinking. Okay. What's she talking about with the litter box? What about that, honey? What about litter? Did you change litter?
Yes.
She doesn't. Okay. Is the new litter got a stronger smell than the old litter?
No, I changed from the clay litter to the crystal litter. And I've always used unscented.
Okay. So I'm asking her what it is. Okay. Well, first of all, you changed something on her, did not tell her. Not happy about that. Right? You have to tell them these things, because what happens is then they how they execute their displeasure sometimes. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Things that dump on the floor.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm letting she didn't like the change. You didn't tell her. All right. So she's one in particular, especially at this age, that you need to say, all right, sweetheart, you know what? This litter is not working real well for me. It's harder to clean, and I know you like it clean in your box. So she's really picky about that. She likes the clean box every day. Mom wants that clean box. All right, just Yep. You said or else, and I'm saying that's not nice.
Oh no, she lets me know.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
So But she says this litter, I'm letting her know that this litter may be better for her because it's not as dusty.
Mhm.
She said that's, and you have an enclosed litter box, correct?
No. Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
Do you want an enclosed litter box? Because that's why you showed me that, or did I just miss it? Hold on a minute. She's confusing me. She says, "Oh, you're getting a kick out of that, aren't you? You are." Well, she's so funny. This cat has got a wicked sense of humor. Okay, do you like having an open litter box, or would you like a covered litter box? Which would you prefer? Okay, she does like open, so you made a good choice there. What about the height of the sides, sweetie? Can you still get up in there okay? Yes. Why did you show me the closed litter box then? Why did you show me the hood thing? She said, well, I could hide in there, but no, she's okay with the open one. Yeah, so some cats like open boxes, some hands, and some cats like to have the little privacy thing going on.
Mhm.
I don't want to let you see me pee or whatever. So cats are funny. Well, we have one like that. She does not want you to know that she's in there. The other two don't care. All right, what else with her? What else with her?
I want to know why she doesn't cuddle with me.
Why didn't she cut? All right, she said, well, she said that. She's funny. That would be too easy. She says, you know, humans like think that we all do that. And she said, it's like some of us do and some of us don't feel that we have the need to do that. She said that sometimes she will lay next to you because she's cold. And that's, you know, that's about as close as you're going to get. The lap thing is just not something that she's into. She said some people really like it. She said, I know that some people really like it. And I'm explaining to her that it's that we humans like cats to sit in our lap for a couple of reasons. One is that their fur is just so nice. You know, for us humans, it is very soothing to especially when we might be a little bit upset or had a bad day. You know, we just kind of, you know, we're soothing. I said, but you know, it's really, really cool is when you purr because that vibration just really calms humans down like this. And so, and she says, well, she has more of the idea that you are there to serve her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, very much so.
Her person as opposed to her being your cat.
Say that again.
She says you are her person as opposed to her being your cat.
Oh,
the relationship is you are in the provider and the one that gives things, and the one is your job is to keep her comfortable. Your job is your job is to cater to her every. She's a little princess.
Oh God, yes, she is. I call her princess all the time.
You need to understand this about her, and therefore you are in a supporting role as opposed to her being in a support. Although she does know that she doesn't make nice with you.
Okay.
Does make nice, and she understands that this is something that she does because this is part of why she lives with you, and also because if she didn't do that, then in her mind, well, would the human do what she's supposed to do? In other words, it's a trade for her.
Okay.
Okay?
That seems about par on for the course for a cat.
Yeah.
Well,
You're there to serve them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would say in general, I think cats are much more independent of us. And it comes down to, if you think about if I don't want to digress too much, but if you think about the original dog-human relationship, dogs were bred for specific purposes and jobs with people, right? And so the relationship had to be there. It was a codependent relationship, okay? So dogs have more of a codependent relationship with us as humans. Okay. They are more willing to do things for us. They are more willing to do things when we ask them. Okay. And in fact, if you don't do that with a dog to a certain degree, they're going to take over. And that's what those are the dogs that end up in shelters or being the dogs that end up being euthanized, because people don't understand that we need to be gentle leaders with them.
Right.
Cats believe that we are there to serve them. Okay. In return, they will do certain things for us. So it's much more of a independent, but if you think about it, cats came into a relationship with human beings as hunters. They would keep the mice out of the pyramids and buildings, but it was an independent relationship. We didn't put them on a leash. We didn't train them. They did this for us. Right?
Right.
Okay. And in turn, we gave them shelter. We gave them a barn. We gave them hay to sleep in. I mean, there are 3 barn cats we border horses.
Yeah.
Right? And they know what their job is. And that's why cats will, if they are outdoor or indoor outdoor. I had an arrangement with our cats when we had the dog door on the farm. Do not bring a snake in this house. Do not bring a snake in and let it loose. Because snakes have a purpose. They really do. I respect reptiles. They have a purpose with us. I just don't want them in my house. Right. So what Ben would do, who looks a lot like Diana, what Ben would do is we would be sound asleep and he would bring something up in the bed and he always made it a certain noise. There was a distinct, I've got a present for you noise. Right away. And he would deposit it in the middle of the bed. And it may not always be dead. The last one he let loose was a baby chipmunk.
Oh my.
But we got to know he made a certain noise when he brought something, but he was doing his job. His job was to make sure we knew that he was keeping the rodents out of the house. And that included chipmunks. Okay. And mice, and by God, they never brought a snake in.
Oh,
We had
good kitties.
That's great.
That is very good.
Yeah, we had 6 cats when we lived on the farm at one time. Some of them were outdoor cats, and a few came in and out. We had 3 or 4 came in and out. The dog door, and that was the agreement. None of them ever brought a snake in.
Wow.
One of them in the barn killed a snake, which was okay. Blessings, and I hope your passing was quick. Okay. We had to discuss with them that they did not need to try to corner the babies, the mama skunk that had her babies behind the hay pile. To leave, if it looks like black and white, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we had to take these baby skunks out. Mama was not happy.
No, I bet not.
But, they're so cute though. Have you ever seen baby skunks? Oh my God.
Skunks are adorable. Yeah.
I've had to paint many pictures of skunks.
Up like this by the tail and going, oh, you're so, and everyone's different. It's like, oh, you are just so cute. And they can't spray when they're that little.
Oh.
So you're just like, oh, you're so cute. Look at you. And we said, Mama, we're taking them way out across the pasture to this other barn where we know there aren't animals. Okay. And this is where we're going. We're showing Mama in our heads the whole way. We're taking your babies in a box and we're going to let them loose in the tall grass out here so the hawks won't get them. And you need to go take care of your babies. But do not bring them back here.
No.
You cannot live in our barn and they cannot live in our barn. Okay. Mice and chipmunks I could put up with as long as we had wood rats that started burrowing under the stall mats. And I had to talk with barn cats that they needed to get them out of there because tunneling under the mats, a horse could step in the mat and, break a leg. Right? So we had to have a chat with the barn kitties and say, keep the wood rats out of here. This is not good for your horses. So, and they did a fairly decent job after that. But any other questions?
No, this has been a great discussion. Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
I was going to just say, is Betsy happy?
Oh, I get that. Okay, let me see. She said you could, there's a particular kind of canned food she likes.
Okay.
And
do tell.
she could have more of that, please. It feels like it's more of a fish variety. Like,
Okay.
you know, because she likes the smell. She says with cats, she said, you said it earlier, make sure that they understand, those that have cats, that they understand that cats need to have a smell. The smell draws us just as much
Stinky.
the way something looks,
Okay.
even more so than dogs.
Hmm.
Says. So people need to understand that.
Fancy feast salmon.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the
that one's
stinkiest stuff
popular.
on earth.
Yeah, you gotta have,
Okay.
you gotta have something, especially when you get a cat that is getting older,
Mhm.
and you know they start, maybe kidneys start slowing down, stuff starts building up in their system. Okay, so they make it a little queasy.
Okay.
Right, not a vet here, but we had that happen.
Hmm.
For older cats, is that their kidneys started to go, they would get queasy, which goes, they had upset stomach. So we had to get
Oh.
really, really smelly stuff
Okay.
to offer them to, if they wanted to eat, that they could.
Okay.
They were motivated. The smell got strong enough they could eat. Okay, it
Okay.
overcame the queasies.
Okay.
So just something to be aware of. The smell's real important.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
this has been a
All the
great
animals, they
show.
did a
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Well,
Cindy
Yes.
and Monica.
Thank you.
Yeah. We probably should.
all of
Uh,
them.
do you want to give your information out? We can put it in the show notes too.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. You can get a hold of us in a couple of different ways. You can email me at cindy@acwservices.net, or you can call me, cell 513-310-3997. You can also reach us, through our website, which is acwservices.net. You can reach Terri@acwservices.net, or oh geez, wait a minute, I just lost it. Or you can call Terri at 513-309-0957. We do most of our work on the phone, especially now during COVID. We do occasionally I do barn calls. I love doing barn calls and seeing horses. But we can do home visits as well. We have been not doing them right now because of COVID, but I have been still doing a few barn calls because we're outside and everybody masks up. But please give us a call. We're happy to help. We're here to help. We want to see the animals stay in their homes. We don't want to see your dogs and cats and horses going into rescue, or your dogs and cats going into the shelter because you have a behavioral problem. We're not behaviorists. We're not vets. We can certainly help you understand things from your animal point of view. That's why we do this. We want the animals to stay in their families. That's
Great.
it.
And
Thank you.
thank you so much, Monica. Do you want to plug anything or?
Well, I don't have a website. I'm sort of slow about that. All I have is my email address. If you would like to contact me, it's lirastudios@gmail.com if you'd like a reading. I do phone readings. I do email readings. And with COVID, I have plenty of time. So
I'm your host, Kat, along with Christina, Jen, and occasionally now Bob and Conan, that you can see bopping up and down your stairs behind you, Christina. It's a treasure. I love watching it.
Yeah.
If you like to stay tuned with us, you can find us at Cin Cabinet Curio on Twitter, Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram. You can email us your own hometown haunts, or if you have a pet ghost story you would love to share in a future episode, you can also email that to us at cincycuriosities@gmail.com. Thank you. Stay curious and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.